Well, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of A Chat with Anita and Matt. We've got some exciting stuff happening this week because Matt's going to tell you about what he's been up to and what he has discovered. So Matt, I'm going to let you take it away.
All right. Thanks, Anita. Yeah, I was just telling Anita that putting a webinar together. It's actually tomorrow here in real time. And I wanted to show you an interesting result here, if you don't mind. Can I share my screen, Anita, and show you what this is about? This is the webinar that I'm doing tomorrow, Drop the Fake High Pressure Tactics. And I surveyed the attendees. Of course I did, right? I surveyed people. That's what I always do. Before people walk in the room, before that camera turns on, I've already asked them the key questions so that I learn something about them. So then when they step into the webinar, I can present the results. That's what we've been talking about, is good psychology. And that's one of the techniques, is learning about your audience before they come in. So I surveyed these folks. One of the questions I asked them is, what would make this webinar impactful? Like, what would make this worth your time? Why would you show up? And these were some of the answers that they gave. And I just kind of condensed these. People wanted to know how to use webinars to get more sales and clients and attract more people and that sort of thing. But here's the interesting thing. When I asked them what would make this impactful, and this is a lot of text here, but these are the actual words of people who said, what would make it really worth my time is to learn some hype-free, authentic methods in my webinar. How to present a professional image, not a pushy, low integrity person. Tactics that don't make me feel sleazy and slimy. Avoid making a nuisance of myself and make everyone sorry they met me. And there were 62 more of these. And I just thought I wanted to share these with you, Anita, because these are in other words of people who are explaining what is we've been talking about, how to avoid using the dark psychology tactics and the bad psychology and what I call the moldy, old, predictable, high pressure online marketing techniques. And folks that are attending my webinar are saying, this is what we want. And it was just very cool to read through this and hear it from their perspective, what they really want. They're so tired of these tactics that we're told, well, when you do your webinar, first you have to, do this, and then you have to send out the messaging. The script that is so old. I mean, it's the same script we've been using for 10 years. It draws nobody's attention because it's the same old, same old. And then when they're in the webinar, you pivot, right? I'm going to do the training, and then I'm going to pivot to my sales pitch. And then everyone's like, uh-oh, here it comes. Here's the sales thing. And they're told, well, this is how you have to do it. You have to show authority, and then you have to do the social proof. Here's all the people that bought my stuff. And then cart closes in 3 days. There's only 6 of these left. You got to buy right now. And it just doesn't feel right. And I just want to share, these are just some of the 68 or so comments that people made about what they want in their own marketing.
I really like this one. Avoid the revulsion of dark marketing strategies, which we've been talking about. For me, I'm around customer attraction. So the one above that, kinder, more gentle method to attract and keep people. So this is wonderful to hear. Can you pop us back on the screen there, Matt?
Yeah, there you go.
This was, when Matt showed this to me, like, first of all, we both got really excited because, again, it shows we're not the only people, and we know this. We're not the only people out there who don't want to use these. I like that, dark marketing strategies. I think someone had mentioned somewhere else in the comments that they don't want to use Cialdini's influence and that, start of that whole marketing movement that we're familiar with, that they don't want to use those anymore. So this is fantastic. And one of the things I learned from Matt actually was that, we talked about so many things around digital marketing and what fit with us. And one of the things I found when I was going through ready to launch my course was how much work was involved in launching. Like, it was literally months of preparation, then weeks before, and then that run of whatever, 10, 14, 7 days, whatever it is.
It's a
It's like,
full-time job, really.
oh, it's brutal. You've got it. Like, it is exhausting. You've got this moving. You got to do that. You got to watch this. You got to watch that. Is this working? Is it like,
And you
it
usually
is
have to bring on a team, right? Or you have to bring
brutal.
on some help. Some other people
Yeah.
have to help you with the tech part of it. At least, you know, in my case, I had needed that help.
Yeah. Same here. I couldn't do it alone. Like, there's no way that that's a one person show. And I've always, like, I did the one, and after that I've never launched like that again. I decided, you know what, exactly that, Matt. Like, I had to get a team. It would just consume so much of my life. And I didn't like doing them. A, because of the methods, and B, just because of how impactful it was in my life. So Matt and I were just talking about this, about using a simple method based on what you do, which is the survey. So do you want to talk a bit about that, Matt, and the discussion? We can take that a little further so that people can hear what we were talking about with respect to that.
Yeah, because I mean, this has come out the last maybe 3 or 4 months. I've been talking with experts, you know, folks that have been doing online marketing for a while, and telling them about new techniques that are simpler, more direct, all those terms that you just saw, you know, describing these strategies. And the usual response is, I don't have time for this. Like, I have my launch in place. I got to do these videos, and then we're doing this, and then we got to set up the, you know, they're so busy trying to set up something that they're just hoping works. And I'm saying, well, this method is a lot simpler than that. No, well, I have no time. I have no time for this. And it just came up again this week. Somebody in my mastermind was setting up a launch, and concerned with the videos. And even when I described the methods that you and I have talked about, you know, her thought was, well, how do I fit that in? Because I have all this other stuff. And I said, well, you would do this instead of that. You would, you know, just direct, simple to your audience. And just the advice I gave her is, how about instead of, you know, your plan, you're going to contact your people by email on these, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever, and then set up, they were going to watch a video, and then you're going to, you know, you're building anticipation for the second video. How about in those same emails, we just ask a question. Is there anything that you'd like to know about these folks? And she said, well, yeah, there's, and she just rattled off, here's 3 things I would like to know about my audience. And I said, well, do you know that about them? No, I need to know. Okay, well, let's put it, you know, let's put this into a survey, just a link.
Yeah.
So that's what she did. She's going to change her email to just say, you know, I'd like to know this, and there's just a link, and it's just a single question. But she does it the right way, as we've been saying. She uses the 9 principles. So she's going to start off by saying, if you'll do this, I am going to share the results with you. I'll share what everybody else had to say, so you can see how what you're saying compares to others.
Yeah.
And then on Wednesday, when her usual email will go out, she's going to give a little nugget of results, and then give a reminder to answer the question. And then on Friday, she's going to share the final results, just some nuggets of what people had to say. And I could just see it in her eyes. Like everything else kind of melted away. She's like, oh, well, now I'm getting to where this is where I wanted to be, to know about my audience, to let them know about me, to get them involved as a community, to build community, and get people to understand that they're not alone, that they all have the same issue. And you could just suddenly see, she's like, well, why would I do the video then? And why would I do this launch then? Like, I'm where I wanted to be. I would have, and I said, yes, that's exactly right. Because you're giving people what they truly want. But gurus would say, well, how you sell people is you put them under tremendous pressure, and you prove how urgent it is to do this now, how few things there are left for them, and the scarcity, and how everybody else has used social proof, and how you're an authority. You have to do all this stuff. And that's what people want. And I'm like, no, what people want to know is that their voice was heard, what they said made a difference. They want results. They want knowledge of results. They want to know how they compare to others. That's what they want. And this is what you're giving them by simply, you know, requesting and sharing the information in this way.
And that's why you had that slide ready to go, because once this webinar goes live tomorrow, you'll be able to do exactly what you just talked about. You've already surveyed them, you went through all of their responses, and now you're giving back and saying, hey, look, these are what other people who are attending this webinar said. And that is so unlike what we're used to getting. We're used to getting just one way the information flowing, whereas this way it becomes a conversation. They actually feel, like you said, they're being heard, their input matters. And the great thing is you can pivot with having this information before you go into the webinar. If there's something that people really want that perhaps you didn't, include, it gives you the opportunity to include it in the webinar, so people walk away and go, wow, like that answered the exact question, or the reason why I want. We had some technical difficulties, which, my apologies, looks like my internet went a little unstable, even though I'm hardwired in. I know they are doing some work on the cable upgrade for this area. So I'm trying to remember back what I was saying. It was something about participating in the webinars and how, that was it. People, like, whenever I've attended webinars and I walk away from them because it doesn't feel that they really spoke to me, they didn't really answer a question about, why I was attending. Whereas this method that you're using, Matt, is one that does address that problem and makes people, it's no wonder your webinar attendance is so much higher, because people feel like they've been listened to and likely will get their main purpose for being there answered, whether it's a solution or something like that, or even directly answered within the webinar. So I think that's pretty much where I was when I finished off. My internet went out, but yeah.
Well,
does that help?
Yeah, let's just pick up right here then.
Yeah.
I was just looking around to find my hard copies, because two people, their comments really hit me. It was something, because my question was, what impact would this have? And one of the responses was, well, I hope I get what you promised, because I never do. Another one said, not I never do in your webinars, just in general. Yeah. I guess I should point out. And another person said something like, yeah, I only stay in webinars like 5 minutes, because that's all I get that far in. I realize they're not delivering. And there was a couple others of that same way. And I was like, wow, I mean, it wasn't a lot of people, but it was enough. It was significant enough. And I'm like, this is what they're saying to you. They're like, here's all they have is a title, and then your blurbs, or here's the 3 things I'm going to deliver. Look at all these people who are just frustrated with webinars because they take the time, carve it out in their schedule, they show up, and then they don't get what they want. And I say, it's such a rookie mistake to turn on that camera, to stand here in a webinar and not know who your people are, not know why they're there, not know something about them. And that's why I survey ahead of time, use sideways survey, as we've talked about, and ask them these key questions. And you're right, you just said that, I share this, and that's what I do. That the slides that I just showed, the PowerPoint, that's actually going in the webinar. So when that camera turns on, I don't have to do the fake community, right? Hey, where's everybody from? Hey, just type where you're from in the box below. Yep, any day now, someone's, oh, wait a minute, there, Anita from, Los Angeles, oh, here comes, and the gurus say, oh yes, this is what you must do. I'm like, yeah, in 2002, I did that. When I was using GoToWebinar 15 years ago, that was kind of a cool technique. Today, are you kidding me? They're just setting up fake community and trying to get people involved, asking questions. It's too late. The time to ask questions was before your webinar started. Then when my webinar turns on, the camera goes on, I say, thank you, I've heard what you said, thanks for all your feedback, here it is. 56% of you, as I'm going to tell them, 56% of you have never done a webinar. And 8% of you have done just one, but you kind of got stuck. It didn't turn out the way you wanted. And 10% of, and I give them the stats. I tell them where they stand relative to others. And then I say, here's what you said about the impact question. Here's what you wanted on this webinar. Some people wanted this and some wanted that. And here's an idea. I never even thought about that. I'm changing I changed this webinar for you
Yeah.
because I wasn't going to talk about this, but now I see a few people wanted to know about this. So I added in a slide on this, and I was going to talk about this other topic, but it doesn't look like it resonated with anybody. So I threw that out. We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
People realize, like, wow, you customized it for me.
Exactly. And talk about making it feel like your words have an impact, because people took time to write those responses. They didn't just, do it because they were bored and had nothing else to do. It was in the hopes, like some of those commenters said, well, I don't feel that these are really for me. And here it is. You are actually showing them that they're being heard and that what they say matters. I know the first time I heard Matt tell this about reciprocating and giving the results back, I never even considered that. I'd done what I'd been taught to do, which is, ask questions and then just do whatever I was going to do with the answers, maybe tailor my webinars, but I never ever thought to give back. And it was when I spoke to you, Matt, for the first time, and you mentioned, give things back, because then you start a conversation with people that can carry on into other areas. And it's very natural, give and take, like we do in discussions and conversations that we have face to face.
Yeah, exactly. And who leaves a good conversation? And that's why this is, I talk about keep your customers forever. That's the name of my other podcast. And that's been my motto. How do you keep your customers forever? How do you keep them focused only on you? Well, you continue this conversation. So you've asked a critical question and they took their time to respond, as you said, and you rewarded them. It's just good manners to me. If somebody responded to you, then you respond back to them. And we don't think about it. I don't mean to be critical of folks who don't do that, because it's just kind of a new mindset. But think of it that way. You've asked them, they've responded. And now 99.9% of the time for every company around the world, that's it. They ask you in a survey, help us improve our products and services. Yeah. You take your time to respond.
And nothing.
You're like, well, I hope they heard me. I hope they put it into play because it was a really good advice, but you'll never know, because nobody ever closes the loop. Nobody ever shares that. But when you do, you will stand out. They will not forget you when you respond to them. And then it gives you kind of the right to ask another question, and they will respond, and then you close the loop. And that's the conversation that you're talking about. And you can continue this on, and we have done for months. The cart is closed. They didn't buy your stuff, like most people don't, but they're still talking to me because we're having a conversation. And
exactly. I think it's fantastic.
So this is a short episode this week. I'm, prepping for this big webinar tomorrow, but it will end by the time we record again. I'll have all the stats. So I'll share back with you the numbers from this webinar, because the title of the webinar is how to increase your webinar attendance 41%, which is actually what their data says. After 16 months of collecting data, using good psychology and the tactics that we've talked about, people are able to bring in, on average, 41% more folks into their webinar. So I'll share those numbers with you on the next episode. I think that'd be a good way to wrap up, to see how that webinar turned out. Yeah,
you're giving us a bit of a cliffhanger there.
Got to tune in next week.
Got to tune in next week. Find out those results. Did we hit 41%? It'll be great to see. I just want to finish off by going back to what we were talking about, the simplicity versus the complexity. And this is one of the things I loved when Matt taught me that piece about reciprocity. Just talk to them about, hey, these were the results. This is what I found. This is what I changed because of whatever information you gave me when you responded to those questions. It's so simple versus, with these big launches and even though they sound like they're easy, just on this day release this, and this day do this, and this day do this, there's an enormous amount of work that goes into them. And I think sometimes that complexity makes it a challenge to actually see if things are really working well or not, versus this. You send out a question, you see how many people respond, and you see the depth of those responses. Like some people, like you said, wrote several sentences in response. It wasn't just one word here or there, you know, yes, no. It was, they took their time because they are hoping, and I know every time I fill out a survey question, I'm hoping that it will make an impact. And so I can't wait to hear next week how this webinar turned out, in terms of attendance, but then also what people thought about the, you know, having their questions or concerns actually addressed. So I'm looking forward to next week too. Any last words there, Matt, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I guess just think about that complexity thing. We're told all the time, well, here's the simple formula to use. There's nothing simple about these. Once you get into the details, because everything's tied into the technology. So when they say, oh, it's just a simple formula, a simple method, no, it isn't. Once you get into it and realize, oh, you have to do things in this sequence, and you got to break out your, here it is, you know, here's your Cialdini book, you know, you got to put in the scarcity and the urgency and the social proof and the reciprocity and authority. And you got to do it in the right order. It's not so simple. So that's why I tell my folks, let's just cut to it. What do people really want? You know, let's give it to them. It's the good psychology. And it just, to me, that's how this has changed the way I do online marketing. Because I was so deep into those formulas and methods for
me too.
More than 3 years, all the cost and expense and hiring tech help and stuff. And now that's just kind of gone away. And now it's just me and my clients, me and my prospects, and focusing on them through the survey conversation and the other techniques. So let's just keep talking about this each week and spread the news.
Sounds great. So you can reach Matt at?
For right now, just go to matthewchampagne.com, and in the show notes here, if you're watching this on YouTube or might be on the podcast by now, we'll put something in the show notes, maybe some other goodies. Maybe I'll put that infographic in so others can see.
Yeah, that would be good.
Principles as well.
Yeah, that would be great. And you can reach me, Anita Toth, at anitatoth.ca. As always, we want to hear your comments. So please comment on what you've heard. Even better, your experiences on some of these webinars. I'm sure most of us have been on several of them and have our opinions. What about this method that Matt uses? What do you, if you've never come across it before or used it yourself, what do you think of it? Like, tell us, we want to hear your opinions. We want to hear, you know, your experiences as well. And even how this could change how you experience webinars or how you even, you know, present your own. So please comment, and we will definitely, what we're going to do with it, Matt, take it and use it.
Exactly right. We'll close the loop and respond.
Close the loop.
Back. Absolutely.
You've got it. All right, folks, take care. And until next week, it's bye from Anita.
And for Matt. We'll see you next week. Thanks.
Okay, bye.